to be back, it's kind of like when you haven't seen your family in a while and then you guys all come back and it's like days haven't passed. It's as if it was yesterday, and it's amazing to be here. Everyone is just so loving and welcoming, and you really do feel like family. It's just like being back home. Playing Simon Peter's wife has really taught me a lot about myself. You know, it's not easy being married to the man who's going to be one of Jesus's disciples, and also I was the woman of faith in the house where he was lacking, and so I had to come in and be stronger than Simon.
Where is your faith?
What?
You heard me.
And faith isn't gonna get me more fish.
I'm not talking about tonight. I am talking about long before tonight. You've been different.
It's a lot of layers to think about. I'm a wife, I'm also a daughter, I'm a sister. Especially in the first couple of episodes, having to keep that in mind while dealing with some of these marital problems that people really do go through. It's been a challenge, but also it's brought me to levels and places that I never thought that I could get. It's been such a growing experience as well.
Lara was someone who, when I saw her audition, it was kind of an instant, we're going to work with this girl. She has a spirit about her that is exactly how we saw Simon's wife, which is a sweetness and a tenderness combined with a strength that shows not only when she has deep love for Simon, but when she's also nudging him in the right direction.
And it was kind of like opening up just layers inside of me to place myself in the world where I am married and I'm going through all of this. It taught me that I have this natural, just sense of this is what it would be like for me, and this is how I would react to it. This is what I would do, and that's really taught me a lot about myself.
And I won't forget last year in a key scene in episode 4, when she is really confronting Simon and is angry at being lied to, but at the same time she pushes him and says, "You're not the man that I married right now. I want you and need you to be closer to the man that I married, a man who followed after God's own heart."
Our lives are at stake
You
here.
don't know that because you have not pursued the Lord lately. Not like the man that I married.
And she nailed that take so much with such grace and emotion and power that when it was over, it was just silent on the set. And it turned out to be one of the best scenes in the whole show because she was just so open and strong at the same time.
We really dive into these relationships and where people can relate to the situations. It's emotion and there's laughter and there's witty moments, and it just feels amazing to be a part of a faith-based show, especially being a Christian myself. And so I think it's just interesting that when I found my faith and my calling for my career, that it blossomed, and then to bring me here on a faith-based project, it's like, okay, I gotcha, I see what you're doing. I'm using my talents to tell a story, and sometimes I find myself getting on my knees and praying before I have an emotional scene, because sometimes take after take, it gets, so you feel tired and your eyes are dry and you don't know if you can get there, but with God's strength, that's how I've been able to get to these emotions, and that I realized I cannot pursue this and I cannot do this without the help of God.
Can you help me give a special warm welcome to Mrs. Lara Silva?
Ooh, hi guys. Let me open my iPad. Okay. Oh, my clicker. Oh, where did it go? Okay, I got it. We're on. Okay. Well, my name is Lara Silva. So I know most of you may know me as Eden in The Chosen. And Eden is an incredible woman of faith. She loves her husband, Simon Peter, and the Lord fiercely. She's standing by Simon, encouraging him to trust in the Lord, all while exuding grace, strength, and sometimes a little sass. I found a meme on myself. I was like, wow, I made it. She has inspired so many women and men around the world. I've gotten so many messages telling me how, Simon and Eden depict how a marriage should be, and that I'm #wife goals. I never, ever expected that. And I never expected that the role that I was playing would mean so much to people. It has meant the world to me, and it's absolutely crazy to think that I somehow got to play a part in giving this woman a voice, my voice, a version of myself that I could never have brought out on my own. And while all of this has been such a blessing and it fills my heart, I think it's important for you all to know me, my story, Lara, and that who you see on the screen playing Eden or anywhere, any role that I've played, just couldn't have happened without the help of God. So God has placed 3 C's on my heart to share with you all today, and that's character / finding your identity in Christ, your community, and the most important, Christ. For a long time, I didn't know my identity and where I fit in growing up. And when I say I didn't know my identity, I don't mean that I didn't know my name or where I came from. But I never had my character align with my identity in Christ until much later in life. I was born in a really small town in Brazil. Not much going on in those dirt roads. And I never knew my biological father. But my mother always knew she wanted a better life for me than the one I would have had we stayed in Brazil. So, like many immigrants, she was hit with the American dream. Oh, did I pass that? Nope. It didn't go. Okay, it skipped. It's okay. Anyway, it's a picture of my mom with an American flag, and she'd gotten her citizenship and everything. So she worked on getting her visa to come to America first, and when I was 3, she packed a backpack full of clothes, hopes and dreams, and was off, promising me that she would be back to get me once she had a stable home and life for me to come to. So that happened when I was 6. So within the few years that she left and landed in the best state, hello, South Florida. There we go. She landed in the best state. Thank you. Yes, hello, South Florida. So she met who I consider now my father, who raised me. That was me putting my dad's badge on. He's a police officer. Retired now, but he was a cop for Broward County Sheriff. And that was him and I on my wedding day. So I was raised with my brother and 2 other sisters from my dad's side. So my mom became their stepmom. I know, guys, it's a crazy family tree. My husband had to actually draw out a tree for him just to understand, but I know you guys can keep up. So the 4 of us siblings are the closest siblings you'll ever meet, and I consider them my best friends. And even after my mom and dad divorced when I was 10, my dad still fought for us to all stay together and be a family and to see each other. My siblings and I have been through a lot. There's not enough time to go through to tell you what we've been through, but it's part of why we stayed so close, and it's shaped me today. But growing up, though, we never really went to church. My mom was raised Catholic. We believed in God, but I never owned a Bible, and I most definitely didn't have my own relationship with Jesus. We did pray a lot, though. in my preteen years and in my teen years when I was your age. Because my mom became a single mom, she struggled between jobs to get food and a roof over our heads. I remember sometimes having to search around the house for some spare change when we didn't have food to eat, or searching in her car for some spare change to get some breakfast before school. Particularly the croissant sandwiches and French toast sticks at Burger King. It's not a paid advertisement, I promise. This is real life. So, I know they're not the best for you guys, but who here has actually tried any of those items? Yes? If you haven't, tell your parents to drive you tomorrow and take you to school, or take you before, not tomorrow, tomorrow's Saturday. Tomorrow, yeah. Anyway, go and have one of those items in honor of my youth, because it does have a special place in my heart. So anyway, I had to grow up really fast. I got my first job when I was 14 at Jack's Old Fashioned Hamburgers. I would get off school around 2:40, be there by 3:30, and then work till 7. To be able to pay for my cell phone, which that's actually like a real footage of a really old Nokia phone. Does anyone know what a Nokia phone is? Probably not. Yeah? Okay. It's to text on it, you had to like double and triple click the letters to get to like the letter that you needed just to be able to text. It was really hard. But yeah, I needed to pay for my cell phone bill, cheerleading uniforms, sports equipment. I played softball. Anything I wanted to do, movie theater with friends, I had to find a way to pay for it because my mom just couldn't. It took me a long time to feel proud of how I grew up. I used to be embarrassed sometimes to share my story, but I'm forever grateful for it because God has truly made something great out of a really tough time. And having the responsibility of being the oldest sibling came with more than just setting a good example. I literally had to become mom in a lot of ways because my mom did work a lot, but I'm no longer ashamed of what I went through because it has shaped me, my character, my identity. A lot of you may not resonate or relate to my story or other stories that you may hear, but I tell you this because it's important for you all to really know who you are and your character and your identity in Christ now, in this pivotal moment in your time. Oh, sorry, I'm losing my place here. It's important for you all to have that relationship now before you do step out into the real world, especially in the entertainment and filmmaking world. If that's what you feel God is calling you to do and you choose to go for it, you have to know where you stand in this world because it can so easily break you. And if you don't have a firm foundation of knowing who you are and whose you are, I do believe it's going to be a lot harder to go through life and make these tough decisions without the guidance of Jesus. I know this personally because I know what it was like to not have Jesus in my life versus now having him. And he's become my compass through life and in this crazy industry. Which leads me to share how I'm standing here today in our second C, which is community. So after I graduated high school, I attended a local college here, actually, in West Palm Beach. I wanted to be in the medical field, either a nurse or pediatrics, because I do love kids. And then I thought I wanted to go into microbiology and study bacteria and viruses, etc., because it turned out I was actually good at it. And I was doing really well in my classes, and one of my teachers encouraged me to go that path. But after 2 semesters, I really felt lost and confused and completely drained. I had gone through a breakup with someone I thought I was going to marry, and everything shifted. I stopped going to college because I didn't feel the passion I needed to continue, and realized that even though I was good at what I was doing and I was doing well in my studies, that it just wasn't for me. But please, guys, do not quit college. I promise if I could do it over, and had I known I wanted to be an actress back then when I was young, I would have just switched my major, right? But I was so unhappy and felt so misplaced, and not to mention was not seeking God at all, that I just made my own decision abruptly to leave, which eventually led me to feel like I was a loser and a quitter, and it made me feel even worse about myself. I was holding so much weight in depression, but I had to get out and start finding work. I entered into the life of the restaurant industry, where I went from job to job to job through the years of hosting, serving, and eventually bartending. That's not even the whole list of places I've worked at. While there's nothing wrong with having and working and making a living in the restaurant industry, I know so many amazing friends and parents who have made it their careers. However, for me, sometimes I got into the wrong sort of crowd, the wrong sort of community that I knew I felt uncomfortable in, but I didn't know how to get out or what else I could do to make a living, and I felt stuck. So I felt trapped, even more into depression, not knowing what I wanted to do with my life. One of my best friends and roommate at the time asked me one of the most important questions, which is, what were you doing when you last felt truly happy? It took me what felt like an eternity to answer that question. But the answer just spilled out, and I had moments of flashes and bits and pieces of my childhood. And I was happiest when I was at my performing arts school in elementary school. That was the last time I felt truly happy. That's a long time. And it was when I was putting on shows and plays and dances. And clearly the drama life chose me even back then. It's a long time to go through life without doing what truly makes you happy. So my friend said, just go for it. And partly because she was probably sick and tired of seeing me mope and depressed around the house, she was like, please just go for it, get out of the house. So that night, I Googled acting classes near me, and I ended up at the University Center for the Performing Arts, where they did acting and singing and dancing. I was terrified, right? I thought, what am I doing? I'm too old to start. I'm not going to make it. This is crazy. So already the enemy was attacking me, and I hadn't even started. But guys, let me tell you something. Don't go missing out on your blessing just because you're stuck between logic and reason. Everything in you might be screaming, what if this doesn't work? But try switching perspectives and think, what if it does? So, try switching perspectives, right? What if it does work? More would be lost. More would be gained than lost, I should say. And God is only asking for you to be available. Needless to say, I showed up for that acting class, and our teacher had us immediately go into some acting exercises, and then she came up with a scene for us and gave us directions, and we just had to follow through. I remember crawling across the floor, army style, right? And we were in a war scene, and we were being shot at, and there's chaos happening all around us, and you had to crawl over to one of your soldier army friends because they just got shot at, and drag them over to safety and then care for their wounds. It was so stressful. I'm definitely prepared to play a role as a soldier in a movie or a TV show, if that ever comes around. And hey, 7 years later, I'm still waiting for that audition, but I'm ready when it comes. Most people would probably be frightened to show up to their first class, having to do all that, but I just remember everything in me and my soul and in my body being on fire. And I was thinking, this is where I belong. With a mustache. There wasn't enough guys to play roles, so I stepped in. But I thought, I don't care if all I do is stay at this theater forever and never actually book an acting job, because I found it. I found my community and where I belong. Wearing really old lady makeup, that stuff, that's what scary stuff are made of. What's crazy about the timing of it all was finding my purpose and calling is that I was dating someone who was a Christian, and he started inviting me to go to church with him and his family. However, after dating for almost a year, I realized he wasn't the one, and that was okay. Because even though we didn't end up together, God still used him and his family for a purpose in my life. And so when I felt the calling to move to Atlanta, Georgia to further pursue my acting career, the guy who I had just broken up with came to say his goodbyes and asked me another one of the most important questions of my life, which is, you're moving to another state by yourself, going after what seems an impossible dream for some. Don't you want God's guidance and peace in all of this uncertainty and to get you there and to help make your dreams come true? And I was stunned. I had no way out of this, and I couldn't even talk myself out of it because it's as if God had me so lovingly pinned down, is the best way to describe it. So with tears rolling down my face, I said, yes, I do want that. And I said the most important prayer of my life, and I was saved. And thus began my journey of receiving my Bible, and again became my compass and guide to life and going even further with my relationship with Jesus, and as well as the calling he had on my life and this incredible gift he had given me for acting. Everything aligned. I packed everything I owned in a tiny Jetta and drove 10 hours north to Atlanta. I'm so grateful I trusted Jesus and followed my heart with him as guide, because God custom designs your life to be magnificent. And by default, magnificent is uncertain, daring, and it's downright scary. It demands a reckless abandon of all things safe. But when it's God's calling for you, he will make sure that things align in your favor through prayer and trust. And Atlanta has been the best thing that's happened to me. I was meant to be there. Because immediately upon moving, God had his hands all over my life. So one of my sisters was already living in Georgia for college, and her husband and his family opened up their home to me and let me stay in their spare bedroom. I got everyone going to church again, and my sister, who she had grown up Catholic, turned atheist, and then a believer again, was just a whole other amazing story on its own. And just goes to show you that you never know how God is using you to inspire and quite literally save someone's life. But plugging me into the right community was key for my success. Between finding a great serving job that I was actually proud of to be at, it's at this restaurant that I made some of the best friends who have now become family. Particularly one of my best friends, Tara, who is also a believer. She's an incredible actress and a photographer in Atlanta. God definitely put us to cross paths together because she had just moved to Atlanta from North Carolina as well to pursue acting. We ended up living together for a while, studying acting together with the same coach. She would help me late at night after work with auditions. And it was also great to know a photographer because she took my headshots, and those can get pretty pricey. Talk about God coming through to help in the finance department. That restaurant is also where I met my husband. Yeah. Thank you. Yes, we just got married in May. So my forever person that God put into my life, none of which would have happened if I didn't take that leap of faith and move to where God was calling me to be. And someone else I also happened to meet in Atlanta back in 2015 had a huge part in how I got to know about The Chosen 3 years later in 2018. So here's God at work on my community, connecting the dots, doing what he does best. So I met Taylor Kalupa through some mutual acting friends while she was on break filming a movie, a faith-based film called I'm Not Ashamed. Has anyone here watched I'm Not Ashamed? No? You should. It's based on a true story. It's about the story of Rachel Joy Scott, and it was a Columbine school shooting. So anyway, sorry guys. Taylor is an incredible, sweet, amazing human being, and we connected so quickly. I looked up to her and the career that she had going for herself. But more than that, I just loved how open she was about her faith and her love for Jesus. But more than that, she was, I looked up to her, and she was just amazingly open about her faith. So Taylor finished filming And she went back to LA, but we still remained friends. And she started working at a casting office in LA. And Taylor, she got the Chosen came into the office, and it ended up being the same casting office that Dallas used to cast The Chosen.